Service Power Plant Network. Oh my gosh, it's good to see you. Wednesday night, it's 6 p.m. Mountain. It's my favorite hour of the week because we pull someone in to our community and we pick their brain and we pick their story and we dive in a little bit deeper and a little bit more unique to get to know people, to find out what drives them, what moves them. Success leaves clues, and people who are encouraging and they're leading and doing great things. I love learning from people and I love hearing stories. Story is the most powerful tool in my life that I have to create change in me. Because when I see another people capable of doing, another person, then I'm like, wait a minute, I can do that. Whether it's from, maybe it's exercising a certain amount or eating a certain way or treating people a certain way or work ethic, whatever. When I see those stories, I'm able to make changes in my life. So that's why these are my favorite time of the week. Tonight, we've got the man, the myth, the legend. He is a food service power plant original. He was one of the first members. Taz Sutherland is joining us from Walmart. He is, everyone in the group knows him because he's such an encourager. He's always posting really cool stuff. He's lifting people up all the time. He started doing some awesome lives. He covered for me the other day when I was on this rafting trip. And he's just an unbelievable human being. And he's become a voice. He's become a voice of influence in our industry. And so he's going to come on in a minute. Here's what I'm doing real quick too. I've got all these people on. Boom. Hey. Dylan is in the house. What's up, brother? We've got all these people. Just so you know. So if you want us to see your name, if you go to StreamYard/Facebook, you know who did that? Chris Filari did that because we can see Chris's name, which is rad. I don't know who, let's see here, this person is, but we will try to see if you go to StreamYard/Facebook, type in your name, we will see you when you enter things in. And I'm actually looking on my phone. I'm not texting anybody right now. I'm looking, Mary Dunn. That was Mary. Mary's in the house. Yarabelle's in the house. Hi, Yarabelle. It is great to see you. Okay, Chris Filari's in the house. John McClinchy is in the house. What's up, John? Mary's here. Palmer's in the house. And on time, mind you. Rick, way to go being punctual. As a former teacher, understand that's much appreciated. Chris Rolling is in the house. What's up, my man? So great to see friends. Tonight's going to be a blast. Who is this? Who else? Yarabelle. Yarabelle, you're the best. You're just a ray of sunshine. This is so radical. Okay, let's find him. Taz!
What's up?
Yo, brother. How are ya?
Excellent, sir. How are you?
Oh, my gosh. I'm great. And, let me just preface this with you are such a positive force in the Food Service Power Plant Network. You and I met through your involvement. Keep blushing. It's okay. We met through your involvement with Rich's group, Fed Nation. And you're doing a lot of cool stuff there. We should probably talk about it a little bit later because you guys are growing and doing epically cool things, and you're taking more of a role in that group, which is awesome. But you were one of the earliest members of Food Service Power Plant Network. You were one of our first guests back in July, I think it was, back when we still had no idea what we were doing. And you are we're always growing. We're always growing, baby. And you're the ultimate encourager. You are always present in our community. You're always doing something to lift people up. You're always commenting on someone's thing, or you're encouraging them, or you're putting something deep and thoughtful. And that has turned you into sort of a food service power plant household celebrity, frankly. And
I'll make it like who wouldn't want that, right? Like I'll take that. That's amazing. Like you're making me blush, but like I'll take that. I'll take that mantle and run with it all day. Right. So
good, brother. The amount of engagement we had when I just posted last night or 2 days ago that you were coming on went through the roof. And on LinkedIn, it was just awesome. LinkedIn had like 20 just today. I just posted it this morning. So there's a tribe of people who know you because you put your heart out there and you are good to people. And because you know what you're talking about, and you engage in ways that are meaningful to the industry, and you create conversations, and it's freaking awesome. David Maxwell's in the house. Woo woo! Let's get the party started, brother. Look who else is here.
Hey, Bolton. Yes.
Bolt's in the house.
Bolt here.
Oh, look at that one. Taz is a power lifter upper. That's a great way to say that. Oh my gosh. I love that. Who is this?
Me and Bolt are gonna get food service t-shirts, and we're gonna swap autographs. So like that's gonna happen. So
awesome. Oh my gosh. ULs make me smile. You make me smile. Chris is saying, Taz, don't tease me for a good time.
Hey, so who is that? Is that Chris Rowland, you said?
Yeah.
So he's gonna be at RIFMA. So don't you worry, Chris. I'll find you at RIFMA. Well, you'll see me.
I'm jealous.
You'll see me. Trust me.
Look at Look at the rosy red streaks. Dylan's in the house. This is Nicholas Iverson. Nicholas, yo, brother. Okay, Taz. So we want to hear your story.
All right.
So let's start with tell everyone who doesn't know you or your role in the industry. Where are you at currently in your career? What do you do for Walmart, and what does it entail?
So I'm sort of in a weird spot again where I'm sort of floating between trades. So if you are inside the Walmart world and I told you I work in the trades, you would know what that means. If I told somebody outside of that, they're like, "Oh, are you an electrician or plumber?" No, it's nothing like it's not even close. But inside the Walmart maintenance world, the trades is a group of people who specialize in some type of maintenance role. So it could be electrical, right? So there are some of the groups over in now I've never done the electrical or the plumbing trade like as a direct trade, but there are individuals that sit over in that group that, they can look at a plug and tell you that's a 20 amp or 15, like they know all of that stuff. I've done food equipment. I've done the category called general equipment, right? Which is going to be belted registers, shelves in the back, paint shakers, just random stuff, fish tanks, all kinds of crazy stuff. Right now I'm helping, I've got a team member that we've had a huge demand on shopping carts this year. So she needed a little help. It's just getting overwhelming. It's just a lot of volume. Which it's funny to say, right? People often they're like, how hard is shopping carts? And I'm like, shopping carts aren't hard, right? Like it's a basket, paint, and 4 wheels. It's not a complicated piece of equipment, but we have almost 6,000 sites and we have anywhere from 800 to 1,500 of them per site. So now how many wheels are you talking about, right? So now, so now how complicated, it's not that it's complicated to get a shopping cart fixed. It's complicated to get 1,500 of them fixed, Yeah. So, I do that. I'm helping out with a lot of the, we have, in a capital environment, you have budgets that have to land in a certain way so that they're taxed properly and all those sort of things. So I'm helping the equipment teams line up a lot of that stuff right now. And I've kind of got my hand in a couple of different areas, just trying to help. To your earlier point, I'm trying to help lift the team up, like get them back, on track and on speed. So it's sort of, you talk about me doing that online, but that's sort of what I do at work too. That's sort of a role that I end up a lot of times, right? You will hear that people are like, have you asked Taz? He probably knows at least which direction to point you in, right? And oftentimes I do, or I know somebody, and that's key. I talked about that on Rich's show, right? Like I don't have all the answers, but I guarantee you I know somebody that does have the answer. So that's what I've been doing right now. We're doing like some uptime metrics. Like we're trying to figure out, what's the cost of how long an oven's down or how long a forklift's down, or, like constantly looking at how to improve processes and speed of service and customer sort of satisfaction. And when I say customer satisfaction, right, I'm not talking about the Walmart shopper. I'm talking about the store manager, the store associates, right? Like that's my customer. So that's me. Like it's a weird little.
I love it. Here's something that you said that hit me, and it makes sense. That you said kind of the person I am in the food service power plant network is the person I am at Walmart. And that makes sense. I don't think people come into the power plant network and have a new persona of supporting others or encouragement or whatever, or being vulnerable or authentic. Mm-hmm. I don't think you do those separately. So generally speaking, I think the people we see in the community are also the same people. They're generally that way in their own lives and at work and in family. So it makes sense that all the cool things the ways that you inspire people in our group are also what you do at work. Rich.
There's
Rich.
the man from Bayonne.
Yeah, baby. Okay, so you haven't always been at Walmart. You weren't always kind of on the equipment, the service, food service side of things. What's your story? How'd you end up here?
So if you go back to high school, I come from a very, very small town in Arkansas, and I was reasonably good at writing in high school. I won a couple poetry contests. I always got A's in the writing classes and essays and all of that kind of stuff. My wife jokes with me now, right? She's like, she'll tell you he's really good at writing because he's actually the king of bullshitting. But it's like it's it's, a skill is a skill, right? So you use what you got. So
yeah, well played.
But I could write a book report that would get me an A without reading a book. I was really skilled at that. I was one of those people that could. Now, math was another thing. I was terrible at that. But I had my band teacher. I remember having a conversation with her like my senior year, and she's like, "Are you going to college?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." Like I didn't know. That's just what mom and dad was encouraging me to go to college. Basically, I got that. I was raised by boomers, right? So I got that message like every day. They were like, if you don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck like us, you got to go to college. That's the only way to make any money, right? Like I know now there's a little more truth to that, but in the 80s and the 90s, that was sort of like if you wanted to make any kind of a living, that was how you had to do it. And look, in the small town that I lived in, that was the only thing that really kind of made sense. So this band teacher said, have you thought of journalism? Have you thought of, TV or radio or anything? Right. And I guess back then, I guess she saw the same kind of spark in me back then where I was sort of that natural born raconteur entertainment type. Right. So I interned a summer as a overnight DJ at a radio station. I went to college. I went for broadcast journalism, and I landed an internship with the CBS station in Fort Smith. And then I got a job there, and I eventually got a full-time gig at the ABC station across the street. I worked for CNN and Fox Sports, and I did I got to do reports with Peter Jennings and like some of those cool people, right? And
wow,
it was, at first it was super exciting, and it was like, hair on fire and covering the news, right? And you get in that world, and it's kind of exciting for a minute, and then if you can't deal with sort of the dark side of it, that's when things start to happen, right? So and people don't think about that, right? But you think about, like, if you watch the news, right? So you watch the news and they cover a car wreck, they cover a shooting, they cover even think of the big ones, right? Like so like some of the really, really big stories that have gotten some super big press here lately, shootings and deaths and these big things, right? Somebody was behind that camera, right? And I'm not just talking the ones where they were caught on iPhone, right? Because those people have to deal with it too. But some of the people behind that camera are professional, right? And they're looking at this through a lens, and they have to go home, right? And then one thing that I just didn't realize as a young man was you went from scene to scene, right? The news, like when you're a news photographer, you got to do some good stories, but like if something was on fire, you were covering that. If something was, if someone was getting shot, you were covering that. If they had this horrible saying back then. They said, if it bleeds, it leads. It was like this, like it was sort of a mantra.
Like Suzanne said, she threw it in.
There it is right there. Yeah, she's absolutely right. They used to say, you heard it all the time.
Wow.
And you can either deal with that or you can't deal with it, right? And so I found out 4 or 5 years in that it was a lot. Yeah. And I will tell you, one of my bigger breaking points when I really started looking for just something else, right? Like I didn't actually like go after Walmart. I targeted something that paid about the same that I could jump out of, right? So
So you weren't running to something. You were at a point where you were running from something.
Yep, exactly. We went to there was a house fire, and it was a trailer, right? So it's what I call a trailer. They'll call it a mobile home. It's a manufactured home, and as we know, those are typically of lighter, more flammable material. And the firefighter was sort of poking around in the back, and some kids like rolled out when he was like venting the back. Like these kids had died and everything, right? And so I had a kid on the way at that point, and it just, I had wrecked a truck a couple months earlier, and I just like there was something that was like, hey, like you had your moment, but you need to, you need to, you need to go somewhere else, right?
Yep.
So my wife told me they were hiring at the Walmart hotline. She's like, look, should be an easy gig. It pays about the same. You answer the phone and help people out. I'm like, okay, easy enough, right? And 20 years later, here I am. Like, um,
Wow.
I mean, I immediately was taking phone calls from people that needed help, but it wasn't life or death, right? I mean, it was to them. Their freezers were down, or someone had, ran a forklift through a wall or something. Like it was life or death to them, but I'm going, hey, it's fine. It's not really life or death. Like,
Yeah.
hang on, I know somebody can help you out. And that sort of calming, lifting people up. And here I am. And in November, it'll be 20 years. Like I get a gold badge in November, right? So like it's weird how life, or God or whatever you choose to believe, shoved you that direction. And so I'm appreciative for Walmart and what they've done for me. And that's how I got to Walmart, right? And then just the fact that I try to help people and I try to lift people up, that got people's attention throughout the years. So I went from answering phone calls to being the tech support guy on the phone calls, to being the training manager of the tech support people, to being the shift manager of the tech support people. And then this VP spotted me, working my butt off one night. She was working late, and she just kind of was like, this is the kind of guy I need to lead this hot side food team. It's a mess and they needed help. And so then I stumbled into this fantastic industry, right? And so no regrets, man. Like it's the best thing ever. So, and
Oh,
I've
I
got
love it.
and you can see it, right? Like you saw it on LinkedIn. People are like, "Well, Taz is on tonight," and I've got people like I'm getting messages right now. People are like, "Are you coming to RIFMA? You're coming to?" Somebody heard that I'm coming to RIFMA just now on live, and they're like, "Hey, we're at RIFMA too." Like so, so I mean, like it's happening. Like people are looking for me and I'm looking for them, right? Like I want to see these people again because, even a 2-minute conversation fist bump is like that's another year's worth of energy for me. So
I love it. There's so many places we can go with that. Here's a follow-up question. You can see Kevin's comment in here.
uh-huh.
Taz is a Renaissance man. And you talked about winning poetry contests and
Mm-hmm.
the gift of writing. You and I have talked in the past about you're a big reader. You read a
Yep,
lot of books.
I do.
Tell me this. I don't know. It's a world that a lot of you and I are both middle-aged dudes
Mm-hmm.
that maybe not a ton of guys either are involved in or would admit to for whatever reason. But I love the depth that you bring and talk about what you love so much about reading and books and poetry. What does all that do for you?
So I will tell you, it's really simple. And when I tell people this, that a lot of like, I think most people get it and understand. And I get it. Some people don't like reading, right? And some people read when they need to, and some people like me and you like truly love it. But here's the story. Whoever wrote that book is telling a story, right? And it could be nonfiction, it could be fiction, it could be science fiction, like you pick it, right? But however you pick it, they're telling a story, right? So, Jason, if you and I went to, I don't know, we'll pick some big event, right? You and I went to the Olympics, right? We come out of there and somebody says, I'm giving you both $1 million to take a year off, and I want you to write a 500-page book on your experience at the Olympics. We were both there, like, and let's say we had seats 21 and 22, right? Like we were same spot, right? Our books will be different, like
For sure.
no doubt about it. So here's the deal. I was there. I sat right by you. We probably shared popcorn or a pretzel, right? But I'm still reading your book because I know what I saw. Now I want to know what you saw. So when I read somebody's book, it's their vision of something that I can imagine, right? So I love that. And especially when you get into sci-fi. Like I'm big into the Star Trek universe and the Expanse, and I know those are more TV, right? But somebody writes the story. Like that's somebody telling a story. And then the cool part about TV a lot of the time too, right? When you do the book to TV thing, right? Somebody wrote it. Somebody pen to paper that and told the story. And then somebody else says, okay, I'm going to take your story and I'm going to put my vision on it, right? So now you get to hear two people's interpretation of what it's like to sit in a chair and fly across the universe at 10 times the speed of light, right? Or whatever it is. So that's what I get out of books is somebody else's story, right? So like Dylan Taylor, right? Dylan and I, we probably grew up exactly the same. He's a Texas boy. I'm an Arkansas boy, right? But I would read Dylan's book all day long because like anything he would write about, even simple, right? Like Dylan, write me a book about a hamburger, right? His view of a hamburger is going to be different than my view of a hamburger. And I love that. Like who doesn't love a good story? So,
Mm. Um, I said at the beginning of this story to me, there's no greater influencer of change in me than the power of story, than hearing someone's story, seeing what they're capable of, and realizing, oh my gosh, they can do it. Like, going gluten free for crying out loud. Shannon went gluten free to help with some headache stuff. And forever we're like, oh my gosh, it'll be so hard. And then there's some people that went gluten free in our world, and it's like, oh, this is doable. And then it inspires. And there's so many of those stories and experiences of people doing things. Okay, next question. You talked about RIFMA. You are speaking at RIFMA. When is it?
What is RIFMA or when?
No, when is it? When are you speaking there?
It's in June. It's the end. It's the 20. I'll be speaking on the 24th.
So what is it and what are you speaking about? What's your topic?
So RIFMA is the Restaurant Facility Managers Association. So a long time ago, they kind of branched off from a bigger facilities manager group. They used to be called Prism. Now they're called Connex, right? Like it's a big professional facilities manager group. They've got their own like restaurant focused facilities managers group. I got into it back in 2014 because at that time I was hyper focused on the food equipment, and I was a facilities manager that was hyper focused on food equipment, right? So, and of course I know everybody's like Walmart and restaurants, that sounds kind of weird, but if you think about it from my perspective, when I'm fixing equipment that is food equipment in a deli and a bakery, it makes sense for me to align with the people that deal with also the Starbucks and the McDonald's and right, because a fryer is a fryer when you're talking about it's not cooking food, right? Like that problem is the same to solve. So what was cool was I got to RIFMA and the Starbucks people would sit down and talk to you about what it's like to deal with facilities at theirs. The Wendy's people would sit down and talk to you about, right? You would go, the Hobart people would sit down and talk to you, like you name it, right? Like all these people are like, oh, you're with Walmart? Oh, I guess you do have restaurants. And I'm like, yeah, the only thing we're missing is table. Like we just don't have tables and chairs, right? But we've got fried chicken and all the other stuff. So,
yeah, sure.
So it was really cool. And this year they've asked me to speak. And so I'm going to be speaking on like new restaurant trends and the value of the customer conversation. So one of the big things, if you follow anything in Fed, one of the big things that I'm sort of like extra passionate about in the food equipment world is educating the customer on what's really happening in the food industry, right? So there's a lot of customers that get into, like, maybe they, I've got a friend down the road that just opened a bakery, right? Like, he retired, he took his 401k and he's opened a bakery. And I value the fact that he hasn't yet been surprised by any costs, because his buddy Taz was like, no, you don't need that oven. You need this one. Like, don't worry about this yet. That's next year. Like, I kind of like, I was like, don't spend all your savings yet. Like, you need to like focus. And because he was like, I'm like, I heard Hobart's a great oven. Hobart is a great oven, right? But a Mercedes is a great car, but you don't like, if it's your first car, maybe you like get like a Toyota Camry seems a little more sensible, right? So you gotta have that conversation with the customer. And for what Paul's doing, he wasn't planning on a high volume turnout, right? So I'm like, you're talking about a super high volume oven, and it's a lot of money. Why don't you back down to this lower volume oven? I think you'll be just as happy. And he is, right? Like, a year later, he's throwing the bread's coming out like crazy. But that's the key, right? There's a lot of customers that are like, I had no idea that an oven cost me $30,000, right? Like, they have it in this, it's almost a mental block. It's no one's fault, but that's why I'm passionate about getting out there with the message, right? People are like, oh, I just bought an oven for my house from Lowe's. It was like $500. Like, they don't understand where the $29,500 difference came from. And it's like, it's commercial. It's a whole different thing, right? You buy an F-150, they start at 30. If you get everything on it, they get up to 60, right? That's your range, right? Now, if you want to professionally drive a truck and pull a lot of weight, those Peterbilts, those Kenworths, they're $300, $400, $500,000 for these bad boys, right? And the difference is, that F-150 by $200,000, you're looking to get rid of it. Like, you've worn it out. 200,000 miles on a Peterbilt, like, you're changing out the steering wheel cover and getting the transmission serviced, and you're ready to put the other 250,000 miles on it, right? So, like, that's the conversation that I'm super passionate about, and that's the message that I try to take, because service leaders, they have that message, right? And they try to preach that to the customers and talk to the customers all the time. But sometimes the customer, and this is what service people run into all the time, the customer's frustrated because the machine's down, right? So they're already frustrated. And so sometimes, even though they're speaking the truth, sometimes that customer just wants to be angry and frustrated, and, oh, now it's another $1,500, and now it's another. But I try to talk to a lot of these people about, food equipment's expensive. Now there's ways to make it less expensive, but it is like, it's a huge cost to do in business. And a lot of the people I talk to, when they get ready for it and they steel themselves for that break, because it's going to break, right? You plug a machine in and you turn it on, it will break someday. Hopefully not tomorrow, but like at some point it's going to break. And so we have those conversations. And so a lot of the new stuff's coming down the line. It has more computers and more sensors and all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to talk to them about that, and how we gracefully ease into these conversations with customers. And, so it's not quite a punt face, and more of a, hey, look, I'm just here to help. Like, we're all trying to get through the day. Let me lift you back up on the track, and let's all.
I love it, man. You're preaching to so many and asking, engaging in great conversation, meaningful conversation. Look at this. This is maybe we were next to each other on that plane scenario from Suzanne. Does this ring a bell? Did you have a conversation with a very tall male consultant on a plane about a condenser coil cleaning on refrigeration that you overheard and joined about 1.5 years ago? They were sitting, go ahead.
Very likely. So that I can't say that I remember that, but having a conversation about condenser coil cleanings and eating a burrito and joining into a conversation and being from Walmart. So those are like the dots are lining up. So it could have been. I'm sorry, I do not remember that. And I apologize if that was on a plane, if I was keeping anyone awake. I am known for being loud, so that's
love it. Suzanne, great question. Yeah. I love it. And this is a great reminder. If you've got a question for Taz, throw it in the group. We'll get it to him and we'll make sure he answers. Okay, Taz, COVID.
Yep.
Give me your high, we do highs and lows here.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that, Tom Stritch helped to reinforce that, I think, in our family.
Yeah.
Your COVID high and your COVID low.
All right. So I will tell you. So my COVID high is this and fed, right? I'm not, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on the show, right? Like this is to have this. If this had happened 15 years ago when we just didn't have this stuff, I would have been that, like, I would have been that crazy guy with the hillbilly beard riding up and down the street on his lawnmower because he didn't have any, like, and it, I know it sounds sad, but I didn't have any friends, right? But like everybody's staying in because of the COVID, right? So I'd be that guy on the lawnmower riding around looking for friends, right? And it sounds terrible, but with social media, so the high of COVID has been like getting to know you, getting to know Rich and Josh and like all the people like Bolt and Chris Rowling and Dylan Taylor. Well, I knew Dylan well before. Dylan and I go back to, gosh, we probably known each other for 4 or 5 years now at this point. But really, really good people that interact with me and get on the lives, and they, enjoy my sense of humor, and a lot of them enjoy my end. Sometimes there's a lot of people that will tell me, they're like, I never thought that facilities managers look at it that way. I guess I see your point, right? And that's all it is, right? I'm not trying to say you're right or you're wrong, but my viewpoint is this way. And then somebody from service will go, well, we look at it this way. And I'm the guy that always comes to the table and go, okay, tell me more. Like I'm clearly missing something. So to be able to be part of this and like how cool these things have become, like this is definitely the high. And my son's getting into it now. Like if any of you see, I don't know if there's probably not very many of you that follow my son, but if you end up finding my son, like he does Metallica live shows every once in a while. He gets on there. I'm super proud of him. He's insanely musically talented, way more than I ever was. Not that I was the next Van Halen or anything crazy, but he's really, really talented. He does a lot of these live shows, just spontaneous stuff. So yeah, you're not wrong, Dylan. I think that's the high of the COVID, is the fact that I think we were all, and I saw a story about it, right? Like we were all getting into this mode, like right before COVID, like we were all walking through public and we were getting to the point where we were starting to ignore each other and just ignore each other. And we were like, I think we were losing a little bit of humanity. And when we were forced to go home and stop being around each other, then we were like, this is America. Like, all right, you can't tell me I can't call my friends on the internet. I'm going to figure it out, So, like it became this super huge high. The low, November last year, all 5 members of my family got COVID. So, like, we went through it. My mother-in-law rode to the hospital in an ambulance 4 different times from it. Like it stuck with her for like 3 weeks, right? So, yeah. And in fact, one of the times she had to go to the hospital, normally, so it's my mother-in-law, right? So normally my wife is the one that goes and helps her. Now, if it's something that needs help lifting or carrying groceries, or she needs extra help, like I help, like like I do that, but it's her mother, so she goes, like she's out in the guest house in the back and everything. But there was one of the times when my wife was too sick to even get off the couch to go check on her mom, right? So I had to go help them get the gurney over there to get her mom out to the ambulance, And so definitely, like, people want to talk about it being fake, right? Like, go for it, like, keep at it. But like, I lived it. We lived through it, and Linda's out back, breaking stuff again. So she's all spry and spunky and breaking crap again. It's all good. But and everybody's recovered. We have weird little things that are left over. My wife still smells burning things every once in a while. And so, but we're here. I'm still on the right side of the grass, right? Like they say. So,
Yeah.
So that was the high and the low. So this is the high, and COVID was definitely, like, dealing with it was definitely the low. So
I love it, buddy. Thanks for sharing that. I'm glad that you guys do life together.
Yep.
That you could be there to help Linda and your mother-in-law get through this whole thing and support one another. It's great. Charlie's answering Suzanne, restaurant, Facility Management Association. These pros handle all the issues related. Absolutely, Charlie. Taz will be there. I don't know if you'll be there, Charlie, in June, but Taz will be speaking, which is radical. Taz, did the beard start during COVID, or was the beard pre-COVID?
Nope, it was actually pre-COVID. So I normally, the No Shave November thing, right? So
Yep.
it's the big movement, and so I normally I normally have some type of facial hair. I've probably worn a beard, goatee for 15 or 20 years, if not slightly longer, right? It's funny, I couldn't grow facial hair till I was about 24 or 25, but suddenly I could. It was a weird thing, right? Like my son can grow a beard now and he's 17, so it's how genetics are funny that way. But yeah, I was in my mid 20s before I could even pretend to grow a beard, right? Like it's scruffy stuff. But as I got older, I did the No Shave November, right? Because I always thought it was a good cause, and I always thought it was something neat because most of the dudes in the office did that, right? So like November 1, everybody would come in and it was just like, balm smooth, right? Like everybody's was reflective. They had just like fresh shave. And then, 30 days in, it was like, okay, like who's got the manliest beard 30 days in, right? So it was a race and, you had fun with it. So November 2019, I did the No Shave November, right? So I had shaved clean November. And then I just like kept it growing through December, and then into January, I kept it growing. And like I noticed, like once I got into my 40s, it would actually like thicken up and looked impressive. And so I just kept it growing. And then they sent us home, and it was like, well, I'm just going to save money on razors at this point, right?
I love it. Did
Yeah.
you find when you grew it large, it is
Mhm.
in the house, right? Like I could take a nap in your beard, I think.
Yeah. It's
Does
I mean,
it create, does it bring with it a little different persona? Does it bring with it a little different edge? I mean, actually, talk about Charlie. I think Charlie put in the group today, I forget what it was, but he put the word moxie.
yeah.
Um, and
Yeah, I think it does.
does it give you a little bit different moxie having a big beard like that?
It does. I think it does. I think it does a little bit and very subconsciously. But one of the things that I definitely noticed is the amount of compliments that like I'm an average looking guy, right? So I'm not the kind of guy that's normally walking through town and like chicks are breaking their neck looking at me, or guys for that matter. I mean, it's 2021. Let's be honest. Everybody's got a type, right? But
You and me both. You and me
yeah,
both. I'm
right.
not turning heads.
But,
There we go.
yeah, but with the beard, right? Like now everywhere I go, like my neighbor the other day, I was out there talking to him, and he's like, "My God, he's like, Taz, like you just gonna let that thing grow forever?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Man, I just like I can't even begin to do that." I'm just impressed by that beard. So right, like I just get these like compliments now all the time. So it's weird, yeah. So that's something that I've never gotten anything anywhere near this long. So it's funny. But yeah, it's become its own moxie persona, right? Like there's Taz and there's Taz's beard now. So it's
I love it. Do you, the encouraging part of you that we talked about earlier,
Mhm.
did you learn that from someone? Was there a person or people in your life who were that people for you in your hard times? Are like, Taz, come on, man, you got this. You can do it. I believe whatever it is. By the way, Dylan just spit out his beer. Dylan, I wish we could hand you a paper towel or something. Look at that sexy hair beast. And Charlie, ZZ Top.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So was there, did you have people like that in your life that you were grateful for that helped you realize I want to be this?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely did. And I definitely have to say that like my parents, and it's funny now, right? So I'm a dad now, and I've been a dad for a while. In fact, I'll be 21 this winter, right? So I've been a dad for a hot minute at this point, right? Not that I'm perfect or I'm pretending that I'm some, golden example of being a dad, but you get, how it is, right? Every year that you're a dad, you get a little more perspective on. Now I see why dad was throwing the wrench out back that one time. Like you start
Sure.
to figure things out, right? But the older I get, the more perspective I get on. So my parents, my mom, my mom's a saint, right? So first off, she raised me and my sister, right? So like that's if that's not a nomination for sainthood, I don't know what is. But she's a very, I love her, right? But she's very simple. She's not world traveled. She knows Arkansas and where I grew up. She graduated high school from the same high school that I graduated high school from, right?
Mhm.
So she has lived over there since 1970. So, I mean, so she's lived over there for a while. Nothing wrong with there, right? But it's just rural. There's nothing, it's not a big city. There's no real opportunities there.
She
My
appreciates
dad,
familiarity.
yep, yep. But she was my mom. She loved me. I remember times when she had 2 to 3 jobs, a lot of times just, putting food on the table and that kind of stuff, right? My dad, so it's funny, and my wife will totally agree with this, but if my dad, I look like the spitting image of my dad, right? And so my personality and my persona is very, very similar to my dad. And it even to the point that there's a lot of times my wife is like, she'll call me Dan, which was my dad's name, right? And she'll be like, okay, Dan, like, like I'll do a dad joke or I'll do something that's very something that my dad would do. But that was kind of, I had those two. They weren't perfect and they weren't necessarily like Dr. Spock with the how to raise children, right? They did the best they could. They provided for me and my sister. And we got through. We raised cattle and I knew how to haul hay and grow things. And we worked hard and we went to church on Sundays and we loved each other. And we rented VHS machines and VHS tapes after church on Sundays as a treat sometimes if there was extra money, right? So my parents did the best they could with what they had. And so as I got out of high school and went to college and started a family, a few years later and everything, like that's just sort of lived on. And their parents were the exact same way, right? Their parents were there's mouths to feed, so get up, get at it. And there was never. It was funny. My grandparents were never like I saw them angry, but I never like saw them like screaming mad. Right? You just like you would, especially my grandparent, like my granddad, my dad's dad, like he had a look that you knew like you had fully pissed him off, but there was no screaming or shouting or angry words. It was just this like almost a look of disappointment, right? And like you would walk away from that going, I will be better next time. I will not I shouldn't have done that, right? But it was just a look. And so but when you did something right, he was right there with the other look. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I grew up with, and it's um, it's just part of me.
I love it, man. Well, we're grateful for your grandparents and your parents and what they passed down to you. Kevin saying when Charlie says ZZ Top, Kevin says that was how I described Taz to Eve. So good. Oh, I love it. Um, a challenge in your life that you overcame. Something that was tough you overcame that taught you what you were made of, that taught you you had what it takes to navigate this life.
Um, all right, let me see if I can tell you this story and get through it. Um, so my wife was pregnant with our second kid in July of 2003. and she got a weird infection, and this second child of ours was 22 weeks along, and so she got like a weird infection, and her body sort of rejected the child. I don't know how else to say it, right? But I remember, like, it was one of those like odd, surreal mornings, right? So she woke up, it was 4 or 5 in the morning, and she was having a lot of pains, and so we were like, well, let's just go to the hospital. Like, let's just go. Like, why dork around with it, right? Like, you're having pain, stomach pains, and like, let's like who dorks around with that, right? Like, let's just go. Let's go get a medical. Like, I was a I was a tech support guy at Walmart at the time, right? Like, what do I know about medical help? But I know how to drive you to a hospital. Let's take care of this, right? And so, and you got to keep in mind, let's see, that was 2003, right? So I'm 28, 29 then, right? So I'm still pretty young. And so they get her in there, and they ultrasound, and there's a heartbeat. So they're like, oh, there's a heartbeat. That's good. And so I'm like, okay. So like, I'm like starting to not panic for half a minute, because I'm like, okay, there's a heartbeat. So like, this is okay. And then the doctor gets there, and he's like, look, she's delivering. Like, like, the kid's coming. And so I'm like, I'm stupid. What does that mean? Like, I don't like you're speaking. Like, I know you said that the kid's coming, but like, what does that mean? And he goes, here's the deal. At 22 weeks, she probably doesn't have lungs yet. And so like, he goes, I don't think she's going to live. And like, let me tell you something. If you ever had anybody look you in the face and tell you your kid's not going to make it, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how you deal with a punch in the face like that, right? So, he said, um, he goes, the chances are super low of her making it, right? He goes, but I can have a NICU team on standby to try to do everything we can. And, of course, me and Alexa are like, I don't know how we could, like, I know the chances are slim, but I don't know how we're going to be able to move past her if she dies and we didn't at least try, right? So, so she came, and she lived for a little over 7 minutes after, they cut the umbilical cord. So, that's that moment where, I don't know, I don't know, it's kind of a blur, right? There's, 6 months that was super tough. We had a funeral and everything. And, our daughter Olivia was almost 3 at the time. So she, I remember she didn't know what was going on. And, Alexa was real. Like, she was super, like, we were all upset. Right. But, Alexa doubly so, right? Because, I mean, it, not only did it happen to her, but it physically and mentally happened to her. Right. And so, like, that was a huge, I don't know, but, here I am, and my kids are like huge. So,
Man, I appreciate you sharing that really hard story. You've got a lot of love being sent to you in the group right now. Our buddy Charlie got your back, and Chris Rolling got a lot of people who got your back. What? First, I'm sorry that you had to experience that.
yeah, don't be sorry. It's life, man. It sucks.
Yeah, right. What? You and your wife
Yep.
going through that together.
Yep.
What was the byproduct of your relationship going through that?
I can tell you that if we had not had a strong relationship going into that I don't think we would have made it, out the other side. And I don't mean that like I had thoughts of that or I know she did. I just know that like everything was good and golden up to that point. We were happy and we were painting the baby's room. You know what I mean? It wasn't like we were struggling or we had a kid to try to stay together, right? Like we were building a family, right? And um we got counseling and we got help, and it was tough, and we had friends that came running over and all of this sort of thing. And so um the byproduct is I don't know, sort of the proof of strength.
Yeah.
But
Man, look at all this love. Charlie, you are awesome. There's a little angel watching over you and your wife right now. You are a blessed man. I would agree. I think when you go into some level of trauma with people, that trauma exacerbates whatever you've got. So if you've got something that's built on a solid foundation, it doesn't mean it won't be hard times, but I think it can strengthen a solid foundation. I think if you go in on a rocky foundation, it can make that foundation even rockier and less stable.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so I love that you went in on solid ground, and some more love from our buddy Chris down in Florida.
Yeah,
2 healthy and happy kids are your success. Kevin,
I agree.
Beautiful. Look at it. There's the proof of the pudding. You and your wife are still rocking.
Yep.
And you've got amazingly talented kids.
Yep.
Which is a byproduct of certainly how you both handled that moment in your relationship and parenting. And man, I'm proud of you.
Agree. That's probably will always be the key moment, right? Like, I think, and I can tell you, back in 2012, I dealt with my dad passing, right? Like I was at his side when he passed. And, I think I got through that a whole lot. Like it was tough too. I'm not going to say like I aced it. You know what I mean? Like it was easy. It wasn't, but I think by that time, right, I realized who I was. So, it was, I don't know, easier is not the best word, but it was simpler to deal with that. Right. Like
well, you'd already, if we're going to give a car or a road analogy, you'd driven down a similar road.
Yeah.
And so you knew maybe at times when to put your foot on the brake and maybe at times when to take it off a little bit more than you did the first time driving down that road. And oh, Charlie, oh my gosh, you're amazing. Taz, we have never met, but I can't wait to see you in person, shake your hand and give you a hug.
Definitely. Dude, I'm vaccinated, so I'm traveling this year. So
Taz is a hugger. Taz is a hugger now.
I am. Yeah.
Taz, are you going to be at NAFM? Charlie's with NAFM. Are you going to be there?
No, I wish. So because I'm on the maintenance, so you have to remember how big Walmart is. So there's a whole group of people that specialize in new equipment. So those people go to NAFM and NRA to see the new stuff, the new equipment. I go to the maintenance, like I live in the maintenance people world. So I would love to go to NAFM, and maybe one of these days I may just be like, you know what? I'm taking a vacation.
PTO, baby.
I'm going to go hang out with the NAFM people because it sounds like it's just as cool as RIFMA, right? Like, so yeah, I would love to, but, and that's the thing too. Like I'm fixing to have a gold badge with Walmart. Who knows? I may have another job in 5 years. I may be slinging ovens for somebody in 5 years. Who knows, right? Like, who knows what's going to happen? I'm not saying I'm looking or I have a fixed plan right now, but who knows, right? Rich always jokes that I've got a van waiting for me if I ever wanted to move to Bayonne, right? Like he jokes, like he makes that joke all the time, right? Like I got a van ready for me if I decided to move to New Jersey.
Not everyone. Suzanne's got hugs for you as well. I stinking love it. Taz and I, not everybody knows this, but in COVID in January this last year, or February, my territory grew because of some changes at Cowmill. And so now I cover Arkansas, and Taz and my commitment is that when I end up there, we are having a big fat steak, and we're going to do some grilling and some hanging, and I can't wait to meet your people. Dylan, the gold standard, baby. I love it. Real quick, you are a deep thinker. You are well-read.
Yep.
What is one of your favorite motivational quotes?
So there's so many that I could go to, but I always go back to, the road less traveled, right? Like, do you know that poem?
It's
So it
Scott.
talks about, what's that?
Who wrote it?
I
Robert
don't know.
Frost?
Yes, I think so. Yes, I apologize. I've drawn a blank. I've had too much whiskey.
That's
But
okay. Hey, real quick, just so you know, you've got there's two people who at NAFM who are like two of the people at NAFM. Charlie's one of them. You're part of the NAFM community. See you in August. I think we just got you. I don't think you're gonna have a choice. By the way, this is Deirdre Flynn. She's the executive director of NAFM. I think that's her title. There's an invite headed your way, Taz. Get ready to sweat with us and party with us in Orlando in August, brother.
Okay.
Okay, I love it.
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, so road less traveled. I wonder if I have it on my wall. Oh, I do. Hold on.
You got it?
Okay, here we go. M. Scott Peck, Road Less Traveled.
No. That's the book. Nope. Hang on.
That was a total fail. Swing and a miss.
No,
but it's got the same title.
That's a great book. I read that book a long time ago. Yes, no, Robert Frost. You were right.
Robert Frost. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. But so what I love about that is, like, the synopsis of that poem is talking about he was walking through the woods and he sees two paths, and the one is less traveled. And he decides on a whim, like, obviously the one that's more traveled is easier and more traveled and looks and feels safer, right? The one that is less traveled is more grown up and has more weeds and dangers. But he takes it, and at the end, he knows, even though he missed everything on the road less traveled, he knows that he's better for taking the road less traveled, right? So, I don't know. That's sort of always kind of sings to me as, like, that's always, like, we have so many analogies and sort of quotes that we can go off of that. Take the high road, right? Which means be a better person. Like, right? That's a very, like, I don't know if everybody does that all over the world, the take the high road, but it's a very Southern thing. My mother used to say it all the time. You have an opportunity to stab somebody in the back. Be the better person. Take the high road, right? Like, don't be that person. The low road is where the boulders fall and all that stuff, right? Take the high road. Take the road less traveled. There's more to see. There is more to experience. There is more life on that. Everybody's trampled the path on the road more traveled. So you take that road less traveled, and you may be alone on it sometimes, right? Like, that's the poem talks about that. Sometimes you're by yourself. Sometimes you have lots of friends, but at the end, you know, everything you saw on the road less traveled was totally worth making that choice at that point, right? And you can relate that point to anything, right? I made the choice to go to a certain university when I was young. I made the choice to jump out of a career in broadcasting to just do hotline stuff at Walmart. Look what happened, right? Like nobody is in high school going, I'm going to college to get a degree to be a hotline agent. Nobody says that, right? Nobody wants to be a hotline agent, because you know why? Why does nobody want to be a hotline agent? Because nobody calls you on the hotline because they want to chat. They call you because they have problems, right? So nobody wants to be that person. But I chose that. And so sometimes, I don't know, sometimes that road less traveled is worth the extra climb.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. And do you ever actively think about it as there's a choice in your mind, a decision to be made, and one seems obviously more well-known, more familiar, and one seems to be more, with greater risk, or, just less understanding about what would come going down that road. Is that an active thought in your mind?
Yeah, It does. I've found the older I get, the easier it is for me to do risk assessment. There's a corporate word for you, right? But the older I get, the easier it is for me to look down a path and go, okay, that's the road less traveled because there's actually poisonous snakes down there. And so we're going to skip that one this time. Right.
Sure.
But I don't know. When I was a young man, I took a chance on a few things. I took a chance in pulling out a chair on this, hot brunette that walked into the cafeteria, and we'll be married 25 years next year. So, I mean, why do the normal? Why be normal?
Well done.
You're stuck at home, grow a big beard. Gentlemen, right? Ladies, I don't recommend it, but I mean, you do you, but
to each their own. To each their own, Daz.
Like, if you do, I can get you beard grooming products. Just let me know.
Love it. Taz knows where you find the good stuff. This is our buddy Chris Rolling. I tend to pull for the underdog. Why? Because someone said they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of those conversations actually in our weekly conversations of people who thrive in a moment when it says you can't do this, who just step up and they're like, oh, hold my beer, or, watch me pull this off. Dylan Taylor, passion in your role leads to success for you and your audience. Heck yes. It is hard to anyone who's passionate, it is hard not for that to be transferred, because passion is something that, generally speaking, isn't in abundance. What is it? Most people lead lives of quiet. Oh my gosh, what's the phrase? Taz, you might know it. Quiet mediocrity or quiet dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
I forget what it is, but passion is one of those things that if you can find and become passionate for what you're doing or who you are, it's as engaging as anything. People can see it. You can. It's something that can be felt. Hard to describe, hard to define, but you can feel it when you're around someone that has passion. I think all the time about the quote by, it's going to come to me, but he says, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive." Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. Yep. And we need to be inspired by people with passion, people with enthusiasm, people with engagement. That's what the world needs, is to see more of that. And because that just transfers. It's like a good virus.
So that's my supernova theory. Have I told you my supernova theory? Have you heard this?
No, but I want to hear it. And by the way, Suzanne makes CBD beard oil. That's awesome. I didn't know that was coming, but she's going to hook you up. That's awesome. Rad, Suzanne.
I'll try it out. Yeah, I'll definitely. I'm interested. Definitely.
Okay, give us your theory. Tell us your theory.
So you know what a supernova is, right?
Is it a star that blows up?
It's a star that collapses on itself, right?
Okay.
So basically, it's a star that no longer gives off energy, right? So the correlation is every human has a lifespan, right? So just like every star has a lifespan. So, and every star that is out there in the universe, the galaxy, that we can see, that we can't see, right? They're uncountable, right? They all give off a certain amount of heat and energy and life, right? We have our own. We have the sun. We look forward to it every morning. And we mourn its passing every night, right? Like we love to see it up. We love the moon. I'm a night owl. I love the moon, but I love a good purple sunrise, right? Like I love seeing that. That sun someday is going to collapse on itself, and it's going to stop giving light. Now, am I going to see that in my lifetime? No, definitely not, right? Like scientists, I'm pretty confident scientists have figured out that we're still millions of years away from that event. And I would like to live a nice, robust life, but I don't think I'm going to get anywhere near that. Right. But if you think of a person, right? So think of people that are in your life that when you are around them, radiate something that makes you happy. Think about somebody that when you see them come in a door, you go, Jason's here. Well, the party's like, now the party's started, right? Think about that person, right? And so my supernova theory, right? And I use my dad in this theory because if you think about the way that you look at me and what you've described me as, right? My dad was the same way, right? So I will tell you, at my dad's service in 2012, the church that we had the service in, by fire code, could have no more than 950 people in this church. The fire marshal was front and center, seated and refusing to, like, people were standing in the back. They had the doors open. They were looking in. There were no more seats. Like, people were crowded in there. My dad, the fire chief of a volunteer fire department, was a fire code at his like memorial service, right? And so my dad sort of gave off this energy and this light and all of these things. And when he passed, right, he stopped giving off that energy. But what people have to remember is a supernova, when it implodes on itself, it sends out this magnetic energy that lasts for millions of years because it travels for so long and so far because it's just this energy wave, right? And so even to this day, I can tell you the last thing my dad said to me. I can tell you motivational things that he said to me. I can remember great memories with my dad, right? He's not here anymore. I can't call him. I can't ask him questions. I can no longer be around him to be warm. He's gone. But my dad, the supernova, is still out there, right? So us humans, you have to figure out how to be a bigger, better son so that when you do go supernova, that many more lives go, well, that was an impressive supernova. I'm glad I was around for that event.
Oh my gosh, Taz. You just dropped a wisdom bomb on all of us. I think about all the time when people pass, and I think legacy lives on, and that whenever your day comes, that you will continue to live on in your kids and in your community and all the gifting that you gave our community, and vice versa. All of us, we're passing things on. We're sending particles of ourselves into all those around us that see us, that engage with us, etc. And those pieces don't die. I think they keep going, and they teach and they train, etc. I love it, man. There's a quote. I wonder if I should read it. I don't know if I should. I have it on just to, let's see, that direction, and a little bit behind me is a quote. I'm going to get it because what you said inspired me. Hold on. This probably isn't interview like good protocol and etiquette, but I'm a food service professional, so I don't claim to know etiquette. There was this quote I found years ago about Wayne Dyer. Now, I've never read a Wayne Dyer book, but he was kind of like an influencer and a little bit spiritual and positive, all this kind of stuff, right? Positive thinking. And he had passed away, and at his funeral, somehow I got a hold of this. His son talked about him. And it moved me so much, I put it on this vision board thing that I have. And it said, my dad was a game changer. He had this aura about him you couldn't see, but you just felt. He was so incredibly intelligent, but it wasn't that he could just rattle a bunch of facts. He knew life's purpose. He knew how to love. He knew how to change other people's lives for the better. He had this emotional intelligence that made everyone around him feel at ease. My dad's entire life mission was to spread love, as hippie as that sounds. It's true, and he believed it with every ounce of his body. He lived love. He had an uncanny ability to make even the most unlikely stranger that we would encounter feel completely loved just by talking to them for a few minutes. And I remember reading that and thinking, I mean, it's kind of the supernova thing, right? His son is still feeling that even though he's gone. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, if I could live a life like that, that would be a goal. That would be a dream. Yep. So I love how you're describing it, Taz.
Yeah, he's still every time he thinks about it, he remembers a sunburn and a warm feeling from that sun. You know what I mean? Like
Heck
from
yeah.
that star, he just like it comes up and you think, and that's the thing. Like, and I'll tell you, like, I can tell you about the one and only time that I challenged my dad to a fist fight. I thought I had him and he laid me on my ass. And when I say the one and only time, like you talk about lesson learned, like you talk about like as they say in the South, I got a little too big for my britches. I did. Did my dad, and when I say my dad, he didn't whoop my ass. Like he didn't really whoop my ass, right? I took a swing, he retaliated, and I was on my back, right? And it was at that point that I realized that Mr. 25 years more life experience than me was probably not someone I should challenge. And but I was 17 and I knew more than dad, and like, dad, you're wrong. And but at that moment it was like, no, settle down. I'm not wrong. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
And my dad wasn't and understand, my dad wasn't abusive, right?
No.
My dad it was literally a defensive blow, but it was like, my dad was like, be careful, son. Here's the deal. Any other man in this world would have jumped on top of you and continued that pummeling. I'm going to pick you up. We're going to dust off and we're going to go eat supper that your mom's made.
Love it. Yeah.
And so,
Taz,
Yep.
you are a gift to our community. You're a gift to people in your world. Here's what a couple people in your world say. Rich Maliki, Taz is an instant brother. He has no judgment. He's a great listener who gives honest feedback. I think he is everything that the food service industry represents in terms of people. He's always there for you. The world is a better place because Taz is in it. Dylan Taylor, who I believe you guys have lunch plans tomorrow, if I'm correct.
Yep.
From the moment I met Taz, he made me feel like family. Starting 5 years ago when we met, I don't still work for the company that I did when we met, but Taz has always maintained that relationship with me as if I were family. He inspires me to want to do better. I might even buy him flowers tomorrow for lunch.
That's funny.
Brother, thank you for who you are and for bringing all of it into this community. Absolutely. We are better. We are brighter. People got through COVID better because you're in it and you help them get through it in this community, because you were encouraging and because you were smiling and you were lifting up and you were welcoming people and you were putting little dancing emojis or whatever those things are called, GIFs, I think, or something like that.
Yep.
You were doing all that, and just know that your influence, all the people that reached out to you today because you were coming on and found out you're going to RIFMA, and the invites to NAFRM from Charlie and Dee, it's because of who you've been in this community. Your willingness to be authentic, to be real, to support, to engage in genuine, like, good industry dialogue. All of those things have been a gift to us. Yep. Your friendship has been a gift to me. You and I have talked on and off probably every other month through this whole thing. We'll connect and catch up, and just know I'm grateful for you, and we all are.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And so when you get to Arkansas too, by the way, we're doing the peanut butter whiskey. Have you done it yet?
No, I haven't, but I'm game to try. Yeah. Love it.
So you need to find this. I'm telling you.
Okay. All right. Done.
So, and don't forget Top Gun. Top Gun.
Top Gun. I love it.
DVD.
So good, man.
I was ready with props.
I love it. Top Gun's your movie. Listen, thank you. Listen, to all the food service community watching. Food service power plants. Oh, look at this, Dylan. Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug. I love it. That's so good.
Right.
They do got a hug, man. Look, thanks for being in this with Taz and I, and for doing it this past year with us. It's certainly been an honor for us. I will tell you that both Taz and I made it through COVID better than we would have, because you're in this community, because you've encouraged both of us, because of the ways that this community engages one another and commits to supporting one another and growing and all the things that this place represents.
Right.
And
is that it? Love.
Boom. There you go. Love. Know that we're grateful for you. You're still doing it. If you find yourself in a tough spot, it's important to remember the things that you've overcome and accomplished this last year. And frankly, if you're still here and you're watching this, you've overcome a lot in this past year. If those moments, heck yeah, if there's moments you're down, write them down. What did I accomplish? What are small proud moments? What are big proud moments? Remind yourself. You can go through those literally daily, and it will increase your level of confidence and understanding of what you can accomplish next. Because sometimes you just need to remember all the great things you've already overcome. What else would I say? Just know that we're grateful for you. All of these conversations, Taz's, I will get up probably tonight or tomorrow, are on YouTube. Just go search Food Service Power Plant Network. Right now, it's kind of through a glitch, but if you want any merch, Taz has, I think, merch coming. If you want shirts or sweatshirts or water bottles, all that kind of stuff, go to fspowerplant.com. Ultimately, that will be our website, which I'm working on. Cool. And the merch will just be a tab on there or whatever. But go to fspowerplant.com and you can buy something. We're using Teespring, which is a platform. It takes like 2 weeks to get a shirt. But and go try Blend. They're super comfortable. Yep, boom. There's
Teespring right here.
Yeah, Teespring. Got it. Yeah, that's how I found out about it, was Rich and Fed Nation.
Yep.
So go check that out. Next week, we are going to have Maureen Slocum joining us for our weekly conversation. She owns Zumba Group and FENS Mag, and I mean, so many great publications, etc. So she will be joining us. That will be a blast and intriguing and fun. Everyone, keep rocking. Remember, you're capable of more than you realize. Anything you're going through, this too shall pass. You're capable of big, big things. And if you struggle remembering that right now, you are welcome to reach out to Taz. You are welcome to reach out to me. You're welcome. I'm sort of throwing people out there who haven't necessarily volunteered, but I'm guessing anyone that's been commenting in this conversation would equally be as willing to listen or talk for a minute if you need someone to engage with, or just to listen to what's going on in you. Always reach out to friends and family who you trust if you're going through a tough time, people who can help carry that load with you, people who will have your back. This journey is not meant to be done solo. This isn't a solo expedition. We do it. That's why we're doing this together. So keep rocking.
Be that sun. Be that star.
Heck yeah. Love it. Be the star, baby. Taz, thank you. Everyone have a great night. We'll see you next week. Lots of love.